Hey everyone, Tom here, Battle Rap Resume, back with yet another episode. 140th episode of the show. You know, some episodes, such as with the man Jace and Immoral, have been two-parters. I've had a lot more battles, a lot more battlers on here. And, you know, there's a huge range now. So definitely go back and check. But often there comes a thing where I'm like, why haven't I had this guy on the show? Like, I've been such a fan of his off-kilter timing, how much is squeezed into the verses. You know, it's quite dizzying at times. Dirtbag Dan I said you were like the favourite battle rapper. You know, when talent isn't enough, we're going to get to that. This essay you wrote about your wrong morals. I'm still trying to decipher what it means, but it's fascinating. Madflex, how's it going, man?
Hello, sir. I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Do you agree? Do you think you're unsung at this time? Like, you've been battling a lot. You're bots champion. You just battled A-Ward. But, you know, it's been a long time since June 2012. It's been a long time since Scatterbrain. There was this period of ignominy that we'll get into. Like, how do you feel on your overall journey?
It's, to tell you the truth, man, it's fun. It's fun. I don't have any like weird kind of like hope of being the most popular battle rapper in the world. I just really enjoyed doing it, man. Like, I think a lot of the love for this stuff ends up getting lost in the politics of the things you can and can't control. And, you know, there's a lot that I've done and over the last, I guess, 7 years of doing it. And, you know, I've been able to see the world. I've been able to have great battles. I've been able to make some good friends, man. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I can control. A lot of the rest of it is just like intangibles that I'm not necessarily going to be able to, you know, like I can't control, you know, the views. I can't control the exposure. So, you know, I just try to deal with what I can control.
And creatively, when you were growing up, what was the first impulse? Were you writing a lot? Were you keeping a diary? Were you doing songs? Like, what was that?
Oh, man. Yeah. So, like, when I was younger, my mom it was called like a star maker machine. So it was almost like a karaoke machine. So we basically were just kind of like, we'd go on it and just, you know, a lot of recording and just like trying to make sure that like the craft was more polished as time went on. I had like some of the most tragic like first little like tapes and recordings of things. It's just, you know, that's what you did. Like there was not
were you
like
Madflex
a lot
then?
of entertainment.
Or...
I've been Madflex for a long time, man. Yeah. So like it's basically it all started like I used to do a lot of freestyle, a lot of just like open mics.
Right.
Clubs out in the city in Oakland and San Francisco, and like so
huge area
it just
for
was kind of
right?
part of the culture. Definitely, yeah. But even more so, just on like not even on a level of you know, organized battle rap, on a level of cultural battle rap. Like, you know, it was just something that we did like in terms of like our lives, like on street corners, and just kind of like, you know, it's something that, which is why I think it's been so easy for me to adjust to kind of how. You know, whatever the journey provides me, it's a part of me. So I don't really expect anything on the political level of it, but for me, it's just, I do it because I love it, man. It's a big part of me that like, you know, it's just a part of me in terms of my culture, my upbringing, and you know, it'll always be there.
Yeah, that's the good stuff about it, really, the legacy and knowing who came from who and the antecedents. And if there ever was a Ken Burns documentary about battle rap, maybe you'd be like a talking head in that or something. I could definitely appreciate
maybe,
it.
Yeah.
But like, who were the first influences then in battle rap? Like, when did you first start watching it? Who were you watching?
Well, like a lot of I don't know, I was like really into the early influences. Like I used to listen back here, over here in the Bay, there's a radio station called KMEL, and they used to do like these, you know, especially like the wake up show stuff where it was like hieroglyphics in Hobo Junction, you know, Casual versus Saphir. You know, these are like the real originators of some of this stuff. Obviously, you know, Freeway and Cassidy was, you know, like during that time. And then as it got into the more written, you know, era of battle rap, I was a fan of a lot of the people who have become my good friends. So, you know, it's like the Ilmax, you know, Passwords, Locksmith, a lot of those guys that kind of ended up,
Reverse Live,
you know, especially like, yeah, very much so. Reverse Live. I think I used to watch a lot of Reverse Live, but you know,
the stock was crazy back then. Holy shit. Now that you mention it, it's like,
right.
Fuck me.
There's a ton of good people. You know what's funny? Like a lot of the people that I messed with were people who, like, even dudes like Dirt was big during the you know, because like he was kind of like doing something that a lot of people weren't doing. I was a big QP fan.
You covered him on Ruin Your Day, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, like covered him as in talked about him
on the watch, right? I think it was. Didn't you do a QP
Oh
battle?
yeah, him and Danny Myers.
Danny
Yeah, you're
Myers,
right.
that's right. Yeah, great battle.
Right. Oh yeah, that's good. I mean, undeniably, if QP was ever in a place to be more of a professional, man, like he would have been, invincible in this shit. I just feel like he got caught up in his life, and he kind of battle rap just became kind of like a tertiary thing for him, and I don't think that he fully ever really reached his potential. So I just think he's doing other stuff.
And just on a curious geographical tip, like, how far do you live from, like, that battle rap base of Avocado? Because obviously to us, California and that sort of area is ginormous and really hard to quantify. Right. To me, you're neighbors on the map.
Nah, yeah. So we're a ways away. So the difference, Avocado's down in Los Angeles.
Not to give out his private address or anything, but like,
no, yeah,
the vicinity.
It's social now. Yeah. But
go on Google Maps.
But he's in Los Angeles, which is probably I'm up in Oakland in the Bay Area by San Francisco, and so he's in LA, which is probably about a 6-hour drive.
Right. Fuck.
And so in San Diego, like down near Mexico, is probably closer to like a 9-hour drive. So no, like California's got a pretty big coast. Like it was funny because when I was looking at the difference between Manchester and London, I'm like, okay, this is a big country, and I'm like,
don't do a
3-hour drive. Holy shit! That's
don't
not
mix
as big
them
as
up,
thought, right?
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to your we'll get to your British impressions in the Shox battle.
Oh god, let's do it. Yeah, I'm ready for all the heat. I want all the smoke for that shit because I tried my best and apparently I failed.
No, it's a really good battle, and I was there, but that was King of the Dart. Your first battle, from what I gather properly on cam, was Prove Yourself, King of the Dart.
Man, you ain't demonic, be honest. You're the fucking snitch, the police target. You need to leave all this, man. Stop my time. Restart it. He's garbage. Calls himself the acid ATS. You about to meet garbage. It's me, pardon. This ain't the type of beef you want to be pardon. I know you played with Slaughterhouse. Here's a precaution. I'll leave you crooked. I am savage more than the average Joe Budden, and I kill Madflex. W average Joe L. Ortiz him. He ain't breathing. Oh well, it's your choice. Ground to the voice. They call me Hoist the 512. This is my belt. I got it covered like the pie shelf on Rex Ryan's waistline. Bitch, you only waste what Ryan Payne about to say. Oh, time!
Versus Scatterbrain, was that the debut on cam?
That was like it all came together pretty in an interesting way because I didn't have any footage at the time, but I did win an audio tournament, and so like I got together with Malathion. I said, okay, I just figured it was like a logical step I wanted to take. I'd been watching it for a while, and it's funny because you think that you're going to step into it and you're like, okay, I just won this audio battle, so that's going to translate perfectly to this shit. And I had never in my life experienced anything more different, which is why now I'm so hypercritical of when like these industry guys are like, I want to battle this guy, I want to battle Sue Surf. I'm like, you're out of your mind, bro. This is like not the same. It's really different because you don't have, you have no protection in an acapella battle. You don't have a beat to hide behind. You basically, your personality is your biggest asset. And a lot of these guys have complete meltdowns when they step on stage. And like, I learned that firsthand. I was like, man, I stepped on, I didn't look comfortable. I looked like I was kind of stressed out, and I was, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to have to fight the guy. Yeah. Like, I didn't know if I was like, I was just in a spot where I was just walking in ready to be like in the lion's den. So I'm like, if we're going to like, and it turned out to be way more professional than I could have even imagined. And, I took it from there, and I continued to kind of take steps up and learn, because I'm always a student of the game. I'm like, I wasn't just going to sit there and roll over and not get better. And, but no, I wasn't necessarily looking too comfortable, and I wasn't comfortable. So
being comfortable is one of your traits, like.
It is now. Yeah, it is now. Like, but well, I mean, once you learn and once you kind of like, because I walked into this whole thing alone, I didn't really have a lot of people. I came from a very kind of like, I came from my own little microclimate where like, I was in a band. I was doing all these things where I was like, I'm not, hanging out with a lot of these guys. These aren't my friends. So I walked in and nobody knew me. And so after that first one, it got way more comfortable. And, I started to, meet people, make connections. People started to kind of be more on my side. They started to get more in tune to my style, where it wasn't such a foreign language. And from there it kind of became like a little bit, it was easier when you kind of have people that actually are in tune to what you're trying to do and they're starting to become fans, you know. So from jump it was tough because a lot of people were just looking at me like, what is he doing? Like, this is not what we're used to. So
no. And I just want to focus down on the Scatterbrain battle. This is Prove Yourself, as you say, June 2012. Malafian, Malathion, however you say it, the Time God introducing. That was actually a great battle. Yeah. Malathion. That was a great battle rap resume episode. If people want to go back and listen, that's kind of like a Madflex of episodes. Like, people haven't checked that one out yet, but there's some fire there. So you shout out in your intro, Claptrap and Newgrounds Bay Area. What were those?
I did. So that was where we basically did like the audio tournament stuff. We were swapping a lot of files and just kind of like ending up doing like, because that was kind of like a lot of people that ended up kind of putting me in the position to kind of move forward because, you know, I had this little small exposure from it that was kind of insignificant, but it was like at the time it was kind of a jump start for me to get back into like all of the hip hop stuff that I had grown up with, because like I got away from it with a lot of the stuff that I was doing with some of my friends that had kind of started up a band. It was like this diet metal shit that like, it was fun, man. We had a great time. It was like, and we did it for 10 years. We toured all up and down California, it was called Erratic. And
check it out.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's going to be hard to find anything on it, but it's like basically it was a good time, man. Like there was, you know, opportunities to go down into Hollywood, and you know, like we ended up winning Battle of the Bands contests to like play like with Linkin Park and yeah, so it was fun, man. We had a good time with it, but it was kind of outside of the realm of what I was used to. I kind of ended up like having some friends that were like, come on in and do this with us. And I was like, all right. And then it just became so fun that I just stuck around for a while. But then I'm like, when it finished, I'm like, I need to get back to the stuff that I, you know, would have been doing. And so, cause I missed it. I missed doing all the hip hop stuff. And so it was an avenue back as far as the battle rap stuff.
And Scatterbrain had history, had pedigree. In grind time, he battled Caddy Ron in 09, amongst others, so not exactly an easy opponent from the off.
Oh, wait a second. Is that the same Scatterbrain? I don't think that. I think you're thinking of L Scatterbrain. One?
Okay, because you mentioned there's a different one. Okay, you actually have a bar about that, yeah.
Yeah, so there's L Scatterbrain, and L Scatterbrain is, you know, he was probably the more popular of the two. As far as like what he accomplished in grind time. But I will say, like, just I feel like the Scatterbrain that I battled was way more of a challenge for me than L Scatter would have been, just because he can, like, Scatterbrain that I battled is rapping his ass off. Like, he's rapid. And that for me, yeah, he's saying some crazy shit just like outside of the box, like talking about Technicolor dream coats and shit, just like clever material that I was really, and to this day still, like all these battles I can say that I've never had a more creative, like, you know, just outside of the box opponent than Scatterbrain. And he only did a couple battles. He battled Lex D. But then, you know, beyond that, he kind of just ended up doing a lot of music stuff and moving to New York. But God, man, I just love his style. I really I wish more people were exposed to it, because he really is doing some unique shit. It's like acid rap, you know, basically. So, but he's amazing.
There's long, promising sequences here, really impressive moments. In the first, you wouldn't murder a catfish. If that fish went splish splash, you would curl up and panic. Like, you know, just there is a confidence there that, you know, you exhibit further on. And just kind of that style of writing that you have, like, it's kind of hard to put a finger on it, but it's that kind of like almost like a guitar delay pedals on it, like just the way you sort of invert the punches and they come in different directions with the rhythm. Like, what is that? Why do you write that way?
You know, I think in a lot of ways, one of the biggest assets I feel like I have is just kind of like the fact that I rap. Like and not only like, because I feel like the goal in battles is always to catch people off guard, because everyone could do kind of like the AB cadence where they're just kind of like firing off Dr. Seuss punches like in a row. And I just have never been with that shit, man. I don't know. I feel like, because if I'm not rapping and if I'm not like creating like the complexities that I've learned, like because I take my craft very seriously, and I don't ever want to be the kind of person I would have to backtrack to do the style that's popular today. Like I'd have to take my entire skill set and deconstruct it down to like shit that I learned years ago. Like and for me, I feel like, so my goal in this shit has always been to kind of like find a way to bridge the gap between the complexities of the way I rap and the simplicities that are digestible to a crowd. and you could see from the jump from that Scatterbrain battle that was kind of like where it started a little clunky, you know. It started a little kind of like off kilter and tough to process, but you could see that it was there, and I had the elements for kind of doing it. And as I've gone on, you know, farther and farther, you can see the evolution of like me trying as hard as I can to keep myself and the things that I've you know learned about cadence and timing and off tempo shit and everything, trying to keep that, but slowly to make it more digestible. That's always been the challenge for me.
And we move now on to your first debut on Bots. You know, I just want to talk about Bots in general, really. Battle of the Z, I should say, BOTZ. You know, you eventually become champ in less than 6 years. And, you know, was this a kind of love at first sight sort of thing? This is your home league, right?
Yeah. So I live probably about an hour away from San Jose. So, because if we're going in order, I don't know like how familiar people would be with California cities, but basically I live in Richmond, which is like a little north of Berkeley, which is a little north of Oakland, which is a little north of San Francisco. And then San Francisco is about a little north of San Jose. So they're all basically kind of clumped within a quick driving radius.
And, you know, so here the majority of the early battles are happening. And how did you feel with your progress? Like, we get to say a battle like Denter, and you're more than a year in. Do you feel like your tool's sharpening? Do you feel progression? Or?
Yeah, I think by the time the Denter battle came around, I felt like I was more comfortable, and I had more of an opportunity to kind of like, I don't know, I was at that point, I was turning heads a little bit, but I had a lot of kind of like difficulty breaking through the politics of battle rap in West Coast, you know, like kind of preconceived things of who was getting opportunities, and things were just kind of like, it's really hard to break the fraternity of people who just kind of, there is definitely a level of fraternity out here where you kind of can't just be good and matter. It's like you have to almost, it's like very cliquish, or it's not as much anymore, but it was kind of like this kind of cliquish mentality where it's like if one person lets you in, then it's not enough. You need like a handful of people to like really fuck with you. And so like, and I think that for me that was challenging because like I was outside of the box and I was kind of like not fraternity, kind of like I wasn't in that fraternity yet. And so it was challenging. And Denter, I think the Denter match was the first time that I really had a good conversation with Lush. And that kind of changed a lot for me because Lush obviously has a far reach out here. And so then was when the opportunities kind of started to kick in for me to get at least, you know, that kind of upgrade into like a little bit of higher ranks and things. So
Psychosis, great battle.
Psychosis, man. Yeah, no, I love the guy.
That was the first time I ever heard about you.
Friend of mine, like,
you know, you versus Psychosis.
Yeah,
I think
well, I mean, and I got that match from the Denter match. Mm-hmm. Like that was that was me meeting Lush, and he's like, we're gonna get you out to this Battle of the Bay 6 shit. And so what's funny is I think originally on that card I was supposed to battle Young B the Future, and you know, rest in peace. He was a real good friend of mine. I'm not sure how familiar you are with him, but
R.I.P.
He was, and but you know, like Psychosis ended up giving me a call. I was like, we got to get on this card. I'm like, yeah, let's get on this card. Let's like figure this shit out. But I love that battle, man. That battle was so much fun, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fucking just rap my ass off but God, like right before that battle, 4 days before the battle, I ended up like pinching a nerve in my neck and dislocating my shoulder, like rolling jiu-jitsu. And so I lost the last 4 days of my prep, and it's just, you see it at the end. Like I'm just, you know, like I kind of didn't have the prep to get my last part out, and I had my little, and it was really unfortunate because the battle was so neck and neck to that point.
Think Wild West at high noon. Fucking tumbleweed blows by. Feels like someone could die soon. The type of stress that excites you. All boss tycoons, battles that spark up fight moves. That round you spit. Am I in the fucking right room? If there's a prove yourself nearby, you're lost and someone here can drive you. Psychotic delusions misguide you. You are depressed off your meds or you've been lied to. You fruity. You the food that my food eats. No way I'd take a standing 8 from Channing Tatum. Do please.
And then I have my little slip, and then he just finishes his strongest round, and it ended up being like, man, like if I could have just closed that out, it could have been the Rum Nitty Danny Myers battle that, or at least, on par with it, because we were like, honestly, the battle was like getting a lot of love in the room. We went on right before that. Literally, like me and Psychosis was the battle before Rum Nitty and Danny Myers.
I mean, I love your guys' battle, but that battle is just absolutely classic.
Oh, it's so good, bro. Like, yeah, it's well, that's the whole point, is that
you're blessed to have seen it live. That's crazy you saw it live.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? I left in the middle of it because I was in so much pain. Because like even in that battle, I mean, you could see me throughout the battle just trying to roll out my shoulder and move. I'm stiff as hell, and it's just like I was in so much pain I had to leave. Like I couldn't even stick around for the rest of the battles. Like it was a tough night for me. And so out of all the battles that I've ever had, that was probably one of the toughest to just kind of like get through, based on just like a pinched nerve in my neck. I like can't even turn my head side to side. I'm just like trying to get through it. And yeah, it was a tough night, but like the battle still turned out so good. And that was kind of like, that gave Psychosis a lot of shine, which was really cool. Cause like, it was, good to see him, cause we had come up together. So I was like glad to see him shine.
Yeah.
And a little disappointed that it happened, with me kind of like not necessarily closing it out the way I should have.
And, people who haven't seen this battle or maybe not watched it in a while, I certainly forgot this until I watched it the other day to make some notes. There's a big fight that kicks off almost at the start for a long time that like derails the battle. It's like a car crash, like 2 minutes of like these guys swearing.
It's really bad, yeah.
And like people say, bad. Is this going to be edited out? And it's like, it wasn't.
3 times.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, what's funny is like, it was kind of, I don't know, it was opportunistic of them to keep it all in. But I had to restart 3 times, and all I was thinking, I was like, keep it professional. Like, it's always been my goal to keep it professional. So fuck it, man. If you're gonna interrupt, like, I was trying to just kind of like get them to, move it forward. Like, in a lot of ways, I find that like I've always been good as a facilitator. So like when that shit happens, my first instinct is to be like, no, just like, let's get this moving forward. But they're just kind of like letting this rumble during my battle. It's like, and so it's hard for me as like the guy that's rapping to also try to be the guy that calms everything down. And it's just like, it went on way too long. And it was kind of like, man, why am I sitting here like having to deal with this shit when I'm trying to like get this look and I'm trying to like build up my brand, and, it just turns into a circus. And so, it was, but at the, looking back on it, it's pretty hilarious.
I mean, it is, but, props to you, because like I'd certainly be rattled by that and, put off, but you guys just continue to have a fucking great battle. Psychosis is a shame about Psychosis, isn't it? Like, it's been like 3 years since he battled.
Yeah, but I don't know that he's necessarily like, he's doing music now. He's doing his stuff. I mean, it's fun.
They always are. If they're not battling, they're doing music. Like,
yeah, right. And I think he just needed the time to himself to kind of sort out some of his own stuff. And it's like, I don't know, battle rap becomes so all encompassing sometimes, but it's hard, man. It's like hard to like just have years and years where you're just like prepping 1 month at a time, and it's getting all your time and energy, and you're on a time crunch, and it's just like, it takes a toll. And I think with him, he had some stuff in his life to sort out, as all of us do. And when he did, I think he was happier for it. And I'm not sure he's done forever. I think he might eventually come back. Fun fact, we actually like had a plan of having him come in for the 3rd round against Excel at Mass. And we were going to do that. And then eventually it kind of fell through. And then it just like felt like kind of I was going to do it just because he's a good friend of mine. And like at the end of the day, I think it just ended up feeling like maybe an inappropriate kind of cameo. And plus, I'm not like fond of cameos. I don't think
they're a little bit
just kind of like,
yeah.
So, but because of that, I kind of believe that he'll end up back. I know he's still got the love for it. I just think he's into his music right now.
He's fucking great. I only say that because it's a shame that he's not battling. Because watching this reminded me, oh fucking hell yeah, this guy's really talented. Like
battle. Like Jin I, like his Jin I battle was incredible. Yeah,
Remy D, he was great. Like he's fucking awesome. Yeah.
JC, he never let anyone down for sure.
So one of the things I need to talk about, Madflex, is something that comes up a lot in battles subsequently around this period. Was an article you wrote for BattleRap.com. When talent isn't enough. Aftershock mentioned this and other battlers. Like, what is that? Can you summarize that?
Sure. So, basically, that article was an article that I wrote during kind of like the dark days of ground zero where it became kind of a purgatory for everybody, because a lot of the big opportunities were already being used up, and there was really no way to bridge the gap between low tier and top tier. You know, it's like ground zero was like a purgatory where people went to where they never ended up. You know, there was never any opportunities for them to be on bigger cards, or, you know, and it just kind of like ended up being, you know, it wasn't even a farm league. It was like, it was his own league where it just kind of like, if you did more than 1 or 2 battles in it, then you were a lifer in GZ. And, you know, and it was frustrating for a lot of people. And I think that when I wrote that article originally, it was because I had talked to Chris Mitchell, who, you know, was running BattleRap.com at the time. And I had left a post about something because a lot of really shitty stuff was happening, and I was seeing it happening. And even though I was like low on the totem pole, I wasn't like the homecoming king of battle rap. I was basically looking at it and feeling like there's a lot of injustice in this shit. And I'm not the type of person that like picks a fight that I can't win. So like I was looking at all this shit and I'm like, okay, here's what happened. Like I got booked against this dude named Pariah to battle at Bola 5, which is where Math and Diz got in a fight. So basically, like, I had a battle booked for that, and then eventually what happened was, like, something happened where both Organic and Lush were booking matches, and so right near the end, they had to say, well, we can't have all these matches, so they got rid of a bunch of the matches, and then they tried to move them, and they brought them to this different event where nobody brought a camera, and so there was no camera at event, and so there was no footage, and then they filmed it on a phone. And then after they filmed it on a phone, it was like, well, we lost the footage because the phone broke. And so there was just a lot of stuff happening where it's like a lot of people are putting in this work. And it wasn't being, there was no point of these people putting in months and months of work. And it started to become really frustrating. And so like I basically wrote that article for the sake of seeing some of my friends going through the same thing I was going through and trying to figure out a way to bridge the gap between the top tier and the bottom tier, because there was nothing. So I wrote this article about here's what I do and here's how I found minimal success. I wasn't doing much at that point, but I said, okay, find a smaller league that will invest in you and battle somebody, a big opponent, just like the way that I did, like against Reverse Live. Like at that point, Reverse Live was the biggest name that I had. But the second I stepped into it, we have a Battle of the Year candidate. On RMBVA, it was like the April winner for Battle of the Year over a lot of bigger names and things like that. Okay. So it's like, there your name's getting bigger. And like, so that was the strategy, was like, if they're not going to give you the opportunities, you have to make your opportunities, because like talent isn't enough in that sense. You have to go out and you have to try to build a brand for yourself outside of the league, because the league's not going to give you an opportunity. And as that happened, it ended up being something that literally like 100 battlers like reached out to me after it dropped, like, thank you. This is kind of where we need to head, and this and that. And some of the staff were like scolding me for it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I'm not going to sit here and things changed after that. And that was the coolest part about it. Like all of a sudden, that was when GZ became like, all right, let's build up this kind of like talent roster where we could find a way to bridge the gap between like the dudes who are really doing a lot and the dudes. And so that was when it started to be, you started to see the GZ guys and the main stage guys on the same cards, because that was never happening before that. It was all just main stage guys. So I was proud of it, man. I felt like it went a long way. It was never for me. It was for all of us, because we were all in this spot where like me and a lot of my friends were kind of just sitting there waiting for an opportunity that was never coming. And sure enough, when it did happen, look at the names that came out of it. The Young Bees, the Psychoses, you know, like when Fredo, me, Peanut, Reverse Live, like all of us came through and we basically made huge matches at the bunker. Avocado was a big part of it because Avocado was on my side, you know? And because of that, like Avocado was one of the main people that ended up creating the bunker, which was huge in bridging that gap. You know, like, because that was when you got those matches that nobody could like would ever book, the dose and
there was no one talking at the bar like often the bots battles.
Exactly. Like. Yeah, there's no distractions. And so the bunker ended up being exactly what I had written about in When Talent Isn't Enough. And I still to this day get like people coming at me like it was some bitching article about like how I was just complaining like Shox did, like Aftershock did. Anyone named Shox, you know, just as good. So, and, you know, like it was just like this me trying to, I mean, but at this point I'm satisfied with where I'm at in battle rap. I don't care if I ever become Murda Mook or fucking Lux. I'm enjoying myself. And so my goal was always to just create an opportunity for all of the people who deserved it. And the bunker really helped to create a lot of names. And I was happy about that.
It's a fascinating piece of literature, ultimately, and as a battle rap historian, it is very much like Martin Luther and the 95 Theses. You know, it's just this kind of document that people may look at in 100 years as it's kind of sign of independence. Like it's, we'll put the link down below in the comments. But yeah, I thought it would just be focused on briefly because it is such a historic piece of work there. But so you battled a lot of people in this time. I mean, I haven't seen the Emerson Kennedy battle, but it's very cool that you guys battled. How was that?
Oh, it was fun, man. The battle ended up being, it was kind of weird and good at the same time because like, both of our first rounds were kind of like, I don't know. My first round was kind of, I was just going off like rhyming Emerson Kennedy with everything just because I felt like it was kind of this little thing I was doing like back then. And I did it a few times. I did it against Megadeth. I did it against Emerson Kennedy. I did it against Aftershock, where I would just take his name and rhyme it the whole fucking round. And try to incorporate as many punches as I could that were like significant, like clever, you know, without just being a multi-fest. I want it to matter. And fell a little flat in the room. And on cam, it looked pretty good. But Emerson Kennedy had this huge first round where, like, you can make a pretty good argument that he took the round. And then I was like, all right, I got to step the fuck up. So basically, like, the second round, I just came out guns blazing. And I just, like, did really, really well. And most people, you know, said I got the second. And so and then the third round came, and I just fired off another really good round. And I'm like, I don't think he can beat that. And then he just kind of went in a different direction where he started talking about political stuff, and he started talking about kind of like the you know, just like he got into kind of the inequalities between black and white and some of the you know, just like that kind of stuff where he ended up police brutality and stuff like that. So I was in this spot where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. He can't beat that round. And then he starts going into his round, and I was like, okay, it's time to calm the fuck down. Like I need to sit here and I need to absorb this round, because if I sit here and I continue to look competitive when he's basically going into something that's not the battle, then I'm going to look like an idiot. So basically you can kind of see the look on my face in the third round, kind of just trying to process the fact that I needed to chill because he was saying something important. So, you know, it was kind of like that changed the whole scope of the battle when he did that. And so it kind of turned from a really, really good competitive battle into something that kind of like the whole energy changed when he kind of did that, because it was almost like he had made the battle be like, okay, this isn't, you know, this is more of a platform than a battle. So, but the first two rounds were just like neck and neck. We were just beating each other up because he's so good too. He has such a good palatable style. Like I really like Emerson Kennedy a lot.
Yeah, that's the reason I'm bringing it up, really. I'm a fan as well, so it's very cool that you clashed. Another person I'm a fan of, and I remember at the time, so this battle came out, the next battle versus A-Farrell, August 2016, around that time at the bunker. I remember I'd had A-Farrell on the show. This is the 140th episode. I'm pretty sure it was like the third episode or the fourth episode. So it was my first international guest, so it was a long time ago. And I remember being such a huge fan of the guy because I'd interviewed him, went through all the battles, so I was like, his next battle. And this came out, it was at the bunker. I didn't really know who you were. Like, I remember you versus Psychosis, I wasn't like too much of a fan yet, but I watched it and I had to admit, as much as I didn't want to, you beat him bad, man. You bodied A-Farrell.
I know you're making big moves, Trevor. We won't ask you again. Hey, fuck him. I picked the writer that I had to respect, brought him out to the West. That's not true, I have to confess. Ooh. I came to see if a virgin could have a dad bod, and the answer is yes. The man ain't like, I'd have a hot battle with a dude who eat a condom full of heroin and then not travel. Look at you. You still booking through false bravado when I wasn't asking Avo to talk to Hollow, but every time I hit up G's, it was followed by silence. It was not staccato. They don't get it. Weak today, hot tomorrow. Most of what I spit go over heads. I'm Triple H with that water bottle, so try to follow.
You know, like, I think it's kind of like...
Respect to E, but...
Well, here's kind of like the, you know, every battle has a story, and I'm never a believer of kind of like just like truths when it comes to battle rap. I worked my ass off for that battle because I knew he was the biggest writing challenge I would ever have. Like he's such a good writer, and he and I had been friends for a long time up until that point where we were just checking in with each other. I had been watching his battles, he had been watching my battles, and so, you know, a lot of us guys that were kind of just climbing the ranks, there's a lot of camaraderie between us. And so, you know, me and so he like had the opportunity. I was trying to get battles booked at the bunker. Like it was one of those things that Avocado exactly during this time, just like that when talent isn't enough thing, he's like, all right, let's get you a look. So let's figure this out. So we tried to get Real Deal. Real Deal didn't work out, hence the beginning of that round. Tried to get Rum Nitty. Rum Nitty didn't work out. And Rum Nitty was going to work out. He set a price, and we got a sponsor for Rum Nitty. And we're like, all right, well, and his prices were like a tenth of what they are now. So we had a sponsor, and then after we got the sponsor and everything was kind of good to go, he's like, all right, I need like X amount more. So that ended up just being some shit that kind of didn't work out. And so at that point, I was like, I just want to put one of my friends on, you know, I just want to like, so I'm like, Farrell had just had a really good match at Mass against Sakai. And so it's like, let's keep that buzz going. Let's get you to the West Coast and get you some buzz. If nobody's going to come out and battle, and if everyone's going to find a way out of this battle, then I'm going to bring my friend with me. And so we ended up going into that battle, but that was right around the time where he ended up in the hospital. And so what happened was I'm prepping, I'm writing, and then right before the battle, he ended up in the hospital. So I'm ready. I've got 3 rounds ready to go. And then he was out for 2 more months. So I had 2 more months to write after I was done. So with that kind of headway, he's in the hospital, he's trying to recover. I'm writing my ass off, you know, and I'm like, okay, so I will never I don't think I'll ever have writing better than I had against A-Farrell, just because it was a 4-month prep for me. So, yeah, and I mean, and that, which is why it looked so comfortable and it went over so well. And I think it could have been even better if the room wasn't so damn hot. But it was 110 degrees there. That's what the crowd just is like. Yeah, so the crowd is like a little kind of quiet because like we're all sitting there just like, this is too damn hot, man. Like it was bad. It was really bad. So, but yeah, I wrote my ass off. I tried, like, you know, I don't think I'll ever write like that, you know, unless I have like, you know, a 5 or 6 month prep, but like, you know, that's rare these days.
It's a real battle worth noting. And in the live chat, Avo's saying, yes, it was brutal from the Ruin Your Day account. So nice to get a concurrence
Avo,
there.
I can't see the live chat. Shouts to Avo, man. Right. That's literally like the backbone of all of my success, man. Like I attribute probably 100% of my success to Avocado being on my side. So like, I'm very grateful for him.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot say enough. Avo's a goat, and check out the World Rap Championships Rewind. Just upload the 3rd volume on Ruin Your Day, where I'm going through the New York qualifiers of the 2007 championships. You should check that out, Flex. I think you'd enjoy it. But I'll send you a link after. You send me the link to Erratic. We'll swap our hobbies.
God,
Ruin Your Day saying, also I tried to get AC and I couldn't afford to rent it. It was like $6,000 for a day rental to cool the whole place. I mean, would it have worked? I mean, maybe I'm being an idiot here. I don't know my geography again, but would it have worked maybe like in like November at like 9 p.m. or would it still be really hot in there?
No. It was all just that it was like a summertime battle.
Yeah, exactly. Did it really get the chance to do that? I guess it did to a certain extent with like Verb and Saurus and stuff.
Well, there was different battles. Verb and Saurus, I don't think was the same day as that.
No.
It might have been because I was at. No, I think Verb and Saurus was the day I battled Ness Lee.
Okay. Yes, I think you're right. The purple.
But
yeah.
Yeah. So like, but yeah, I think that like, no, like during the rest of the year, it's just, you know, it's got a pretty moderate climate out in LA. So it's kind of not, you know, the summers and are very hot and the rest of the year is pretty temperate. So it's not like, you know, it's not like it's blazing like hot out there all the time. So, you know, but that day, God, like, I think the 2 days that I know to be really bad were when I battled Farrell and when like Fredo battled Bender was really hot too.
Oh, yeah.
So those were the 2 events that were hot because those were in July and August.
I need to do a top 10 hottest bunker battles, the most sweat per minute.
No, you know what the hottest of all time, I can tell you, I'm pretty sure that Ava would agree with this too, is I think it was the takeover at the bunker. Like people, this was, I want to say it was when Daylight battled KG or something, and I think it was I think it was like Lex D and Caddy Ron, but
Right.
like people are literally walking around shirtless, just sweating, and it was just ridiculous. Yeah.
It's the bars, B. But yeah, before the
Oh, man.
before the Ness Lee battle though, there's another step up. Like your career, the pedals to the metal. You know, we're no longer going into the jungle, shout out the jungle, and smoked out battles. Right. You know, we're staying on King of the Dot. We're now at World Dom 6. We're now at a globally recognized event. Apparently, there was quite the campaign to get you on the card, right?
Yeah, that's when the Super PAC was born. Like, yeah, well, I mean, I kind of like, you know, like I've always been in tune with marketing and things like that, and I feel like it's one of the most underutilized things that is, it, you know, very, very important in battle rap. And so I ended up just thinking like, all right, how could I get people on my side to do this? And it was like a presidential year, you know, it was like in 2016 when like they were, you know, it's like a year where the president gets elected. And so I was like, why not just kind of like, it's world domination. It's kind of like a national kind of focused event. And so I just kind of created like this weird presidential campaign kind of thing where like, okay, I want to get out to this event because the event was the goal, you know. It was just like, okay, I want to start getting, you know, my legs kind of like, I need to, you know, move outside of the Bay and California and just kind of continue to this moving forward. And sure enough, man, a lot of people came to my, you know, kind of like ready to ride for me. And I made cards for everybody, so it was very visible. I made a post in Talkback, so every time someone responded to it, my face would pop up to the top of Talkback. I had a big fat picture in my head. So it's like every time someone responded on it, you got to stare at my face again, my face. And so, you know, it was for visibility. And yeah, like to this day, I still think it's probably like the most effective like campaign that has ever happened in battle rap as far as like the exposure and going from a spot of kind of like, you know, more of a ground zero guy into the spotlight and into the like, you know, capabilities of the bigger battles. So it worked out really well.
And, you know, we've spoken about Aftershock by proxy on the show loads of times because the guy's battled the fucking... He's kind of an unsung Canadian hero of the underground, isn't he, in a way?
Yeah, he's you know, he's had such, you know...
on Beast Mode this year, apparently. Jeffrey a few years back.
Yeah, he's had a presence, man. He's had a presence a long time. He battled Enigma, you know, like he's been around. And
Bender,
you know, like yeah, you know, and I think he was there during the times when the Canadian scene, the Toronto scene especially, was just being birthed, and he was a big part of it. You know, he had a big hand in all of the things that kind of like came out of it. You know, he was a major piece of the starting. So,
boy, I'm on, off, and you off and on. You took so many punches in the van, you a soccer mom. So now all of his... I said you took so many punches in the van, you a soccer mom. So now all of his friends can sit and watch till the coffin's gone. But they could probably predict it had shock in it like M. Night Shyamalan. Y'all get the gist?
You know, this battle as a whole then, like a giant stage, lots of background storylines and rap grid podcasts, and, you know, there's tons of eyes on this fucking card. Was this the first battle of day 2, am I right in thinking?
Yeah, it was the first battle of day 2.
And explain the Stars and Stripes hoodie for everyone that you're donning as you enter.
Just visibility, man. Yeah. It was just another way to get people to talk about somebody who wasn't being talked about. You know, I felt like it was something that kind of like I was going in the whole theme of World Dom. It was like, okay, you know, we're going to go in and maybe play the villain a little bit. You know, I'm going into Canada and, you know, but to also, you know, just to enjoy it, to have fun, you know, just like to go in there and make an experience of it, because why not? I mean, it was my first time in Toronto. And in retrospect, it was fun. But like, I also feel like maybe I should have gone in with a little bit more kind of just like, all right, you know, not to go up against a guy like Aftershock in the first battle of the day and try to make such a statement out of a battle that was kind of opening the day. And, you know, which is why I ended up taking it off after his first round. I'm like, I just need to battle this fucking guy, you know, like I don't need to like play a role or anything, because I'm like, all right, let's just go. So you know, there's pros and cons to it. I don't really regret it. I thought it was cool, and it made for some good pictures. So that's the important part.
And it comes up in a few battles as well, like the Shox battle, which we will get to. GZ Champ Aftershock introduced himself. He's going to keep saying it until someone actually beats him, which is kind of a villain thing to say as well. But, kind of stuck out for me.
He's always had that vibe about him. He's kind of like an arrogant battler. And
yeah,
it
suits everyone.
It suits his style because he's so sarcastic, and he's just kind of like the guy. That's why I think in a lot of ways people... Like, it's hard to root for him from an outsider's perspective because he comes across very arrogant in battles. Mm-hmm. But he's actually a really good fucking dude, man. Like, he's actually pretty, chill outside of battles. And I've known him to be a stand-up guy. I think it's off-putting sometimes when, I think in his battle he just had with somebody, I was watching one of his battles, and he's just like, first off, let me tell you some shit before this battle even starts. Don't grab my shirt. Don't fucking touch me. Don't do any of that shit. And he's just basically scolding the crowd for something they haven't even done yet. And, so he's setting the rules for and I think that kind of ends up being something that crowds are kind of well, okay, guy, let's fucking, it's kind of, people, it's hard because you need to make crowds actually enjoy, your success. And I think that's kind of been a challenge in his department, but it's also working for him because he's made a hustle of it. So we've all got our ways about it, and he's done it his way. So,
and in the second, you really get into his face. It's kind of the most aggressive I've ever seen.
The thing was that, it was a neutralizer in the sense where he was having a round that was going over really well with the crowd. And in that battle, I remember, it's one of the probably more debatable battles. There's some people who, say on either side of us, it's pretty much damn near a 50-50 split of who people thought won. Sure. And to me, when his round went over as well as it did, I just remember sitting there thinking that what he was saying was not as reaction worthy as they were giving him credit for. And in the meanwhile, I'm I have to find a way to immediately take this momentum back. And so that's why the very beginning of the round, it was okay, I'm here. You said your shit. I'm here. Now what? And it was kind of it was a strategic thing because it was meant to deflate. And it kind of ended up getting it created kind of a tension in the room that ended up being almost more toxic because people were thinking that it was more serious than it was. And so, it is what it is, man. I think that basically ended up being, a good back and forth battle for 3 rounds. And I think that I mean, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst.
It was worthy of the cause. It was worthy of the cause.
Yeah, very much so. It was still, I still think it was one of the better battles that weekend. But I think, man, a lot of people, and it's funny because I would never say that Toronto was a bad crowd. They've had great fucking crowds on Goldie versus Danik.
It is now.
Well, it's gotten, well, here's the thing though. I don't want to commit to that because I do think that some of the crowds are great. But I will say that World Dom 6 crowd was one of the most awkward, quiet crowds for all of the weekend. If you look at Arsenal versus Cortez,
it ruined Ellipsis versus Quill.
It was really bad, And
Arcane versus Chiller was bad, to be fair, though. But it did deserve the silence.
Well, some parts of it were, but that's the thing, though. How do you? The battlers are watching this energy the whole day, and you're just dude, this energy is off. And when an event has bad energy. In the same way, I don't know, I thought Mass had similar energy this year. It was kind of off. It wasn't as bad, but it was off. And I think that kind of when you're in that room, you're fuck, here we are. How do I shake the cobwebs off this room? But for some reason with World Dom 6, the crowd just was, I don't know, it just felt like they were there to see Drake. It didn't feel like they were really there to kind of be part of the action. It was they were there to kind of party and turn it into a college bar. And sometimes you get that sometimes, I've had that in a couple battles where it's just kind of the vibe's off and you just got to try your best and just put your game face on. And we've all been through that.
You know, one of the best things about this show is talking about the history and going through your opponents and just seeing when you battled them and what they went on to do and that sort of stuff. And I want to go on to your battle versus Geechi now because you know, we all remember in many ways the Saint battle was what catalyzed him, you know, his growth in the eyes, but he'd been battling a long time for that. And in my eyes, if I was to sort of be a historian on Geechi, there's kind of a year period from the Saint battle where he's battling quite a lot of different people on quite a lot of different platforms before he really gets solidified, you know, in the URL beyond the sort of one-offs and PGs and stuff like that, and really has some giant battles. Right. You were there in the Eye of the Storm battling him on Shots Fired. Like, how was that?
It was great, man. Geechi and I met when he battled Saint, and because that was the day that I battled Ness Lee. And so, you know, we met that day, and so, you know, we were cool from jump. And then, you know, Shots Fired reached out, said, you know, like, you know, we want you to battle Geechi. Geechi's down. And I was like, yeah, let's make it happen. Because at that point, you could argue that my name had, a spot that was kind of like, you know, I was more established than Geechi was. And then it ended up being something that, you know, was like, okay, yeah, of course I'll battle Geechi. I saw what he was doing. And so, you know, when it came down to it, I was like, I know this guy's really good. So we just went out and tried to, you know, make a great match of it. It was funny because I didn't expect the crowd to be what it was. I expected it to be more of like kind of like a funny, good time crowd, which is why I put some jokes into whereas I normally wouldn't. Like if I ever went on a URL stage or something, I would just fire off. Right. And but I had seen in the past on Shots Fired, it was kind of like a good time, chill, small vibe. But when I went out there, it was more of like the hood jungle shit that I like. You know, I love the environment, but I didn't write for the environment. So it was kind of like, you know, I had more jokes. It still held up well, and it still worked out really good for those first 2 rounds. And I think I was received really well, which was tight because they caught the shit that they were supposed to. And it turned out being good. And yeah, now, you know, obviously Geechi is a dude that I couldn't wish for more success for, man. He's like such a humble, good dude. And he's gone about it in a way where he's really been successful, and I've been real happy to see his success, man. It's been cool.
Yeah, it's been quite incredible, hasn't it? Like 2 or 3 years ago,
and it couldn't happen to a better guy, man. No. Like he's literally carrying himself like, you know, he didn't become like all Hollywood or weird about anything. He's still just like going about it the same way he did when I met him at the Saint battle. Like not much has changed. So.
And we got to talk briefly as well about the Ness Lee battle, of course, like one of your most celebrated clashes. Like this must have been so exciting going against such a legend like Ness Lee.
Yeah, Ness is
crazy.
Ness is to me, I think Ness is one of the best overall packages in battle rap. Like I just feel like he has every skill set possible, and so to go against him and to be paralleled with him was something that meant a lot to me because I had a lot of respect for him. And so to go into it, to have my skill set next to his skill set and to have that really be kind of like the defining moment of my kind of like for us to go in and have such a war put me in a spot where I wanted to be, you know? Yeah. And to this day, it's something that people kind of like reevaluate and look at and find nuances of both our performances. So like, yeah, you couldn't ask for more. I think probably Ness Lee is by far like my most revisited battle where people just like still like years later are just like, you know, I'll get tagged in it and people still appreciate it. So it's cool, man.
Yeah, I love seeing that on Watch as well. That was such a good episode.
Oh yeah. I think I need Thesaurus to be at every single one of my watches, bro. He just picks up every single nuance. Like, yeah, he's speaking my language, man. It's funny because like
you guys have to break down.
Eventually, man, like it's funny because what's happened over the years. It's funny because like I said, I came in with nobody, and now like some of these guys are such good friends of mine now that it's kind of like hard for me to even have a killer instinct towards them. And Pete's one of them, man. Like I just like we've been you know to different places together, different countries and different cities, and it's funny because a lot of people have become that way for me. So I'm like, I need to battle these guys before we became too cool, and you know, just I don't want to fight you anymore. But like, yeah, like I have an immense respect for Thesaurus just because like, yeah, we've become friends over the years. And But God, yeah, like I'm sure that if he ever wants, the bots belt or something, he did say that one time. He's all, yeah, I'd battle Flex whenever I feel like he doesn't need that bots belt anymore.
Yo.
So I was like, well, I go, he's not totally against it. So
Right.
yeah,
I'd fucking love to see that battle. Like, Saurus
It would be
only
fun.
has. I don't, hopefully not, but like it feels like he's only got a few more battles left, and there's so many people he needs to see. But you versus
I'm
him,
not convinced, man.
No?
I'm not convinced he's only got a few left, man.
Okay.
I think
I hope not.
when you look at him too, he's still doing kind of like innovative stuff. Like his last few matches, like against Red Flag and stuff, man. Like he
beat Red Flag.
5-round. Well, well, look at him. I mean, look at the shit that he's saying. It's like
I'm strong
and
enough
look
to
at the
plant flag
evolution.
on the moon. What the fuck?
Oh my God, dude! Like, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Like, he's really like he had so many good flag like flips and just like I don't know. He's not really losing a step. I mean, he's to me, I feel like, and he's got to hustle. So it's like I feel like. Hopefully we see him for a long time because I don't think he's really that deep out of the game, to tell you the truth. I think he's still a competitor and he's still showing up against a lot of people. Like, you can make the argument that he beat Geechi. You can make the argument. There's a lot of, because nobody is going to walk over Thesaurus. Like, I just feel like he's going to be a match for anybody.
Move on now to your first overseas battle. I guess technically, I know you went to Canada, but properly.
Well, that's not. There's no C between us and me and Canada. Yeah, sorry.
Motherfucker, this is just one young trust fund. You ain't earning me yet. When every verse I tore up could add to Germany's debt. But I look in your eyes and I see that you're disturbingly stressed, and his face tells me Homer Simpson has been vertically stretched. I am a raider. I'll see you later. You can meet the creator when shock show up on his face like a paternity test. You gonna learn from these vets.
Was this your first time, out of interest, in London, in Great Britain as a whole? Or?
It was, and it was exciting. I actually like, my grandmother is from Bristol, so right. So like I've always wanted to go, to the motherland, and so it was really cool for me to get over to London, and I went out of my way to make sure that I, like, even because we were staying out in Bexley Heath, right. And so we were a ways out of London, and so I had no clue how expensive transportation was there. I probably spent like $500 on transportation just getting places.
Right.
But yeah, so like it was my first time. We ended up going out to just like Westminster, Big Ben, and then we crossed the Thames and we went up into the Tower and Shakespeare Globe.
That's actually
and, like,
the Thames, Madflex. Like, I hate to be a Brit there, not the Thames.
The Thames?
The Thames, yeah.
Is that what it? Well,
that's how it, yeah.
Okay. We can. The Thames.
The Thames, yeah. But
okay, good to know.
You were here to battle Shox, and Shox is actually the first person I ever had on the show. And he's one of my personal favorite battlers. Like, everyone loves this guy, and like some of his greatest hits are absolutely mind blowing. The Soul Battle, especially, I think, is
I'm a huge fan of that battle.
Like, yeah. Like, had you been a big fan of this guy coming up to it, or?
I was a fan of Shox because, like, I always remember that, like, when Shox was battling, I saw a couple of his battles, like, before we had battled. His name, I think I was introduced to him through Lou Cypher, and Lou's a good friend of mine, so I was like, all right, I want to check this battle out. And so when I saw that battle, I was like, okay, I kind of want to check these other battles out. And then he battled Coma, who's a friend of mine. And so I was just kind of looking at his battles, and I was like, this guy's got a ton of style, and he reminds me of kind of me in the sense where he's never just kind of like, sing-songing his way through this shit. He's rapping. And so, there was only a handful of people that I thought that I really wanted to go to the UK to battle. And he was one of them by far. And so to be on stage with him, not to mention him being like the former Don't Flop champ, I was like, if I can be competitive here, then that's huge, and it might get me back out here to kind of like continue. Cause I've always enjoyed, the old Don't Flop battles and the, battles where, there's just a ton of energy out there, and there's good people who know, very savvy crowds that kind of know what the hell's going on. They pick up on shit quickly. So yeah, I was a fan of Shox before we battled for sure. And he struck me as a really stand up dude. So I was kind of like, all right, let's do it.
And I was there myself, actually. Volume 3. We spoke briefly outside.
I remember outside.
Yeah. And one of the things I didn't ask you that I should have done, how the hell did you wear that coat inside, man? It was a sweatbox down there in concrete, but you seem so cool and collected in it.
I was sick. Sick. I had 102 fever. You know how they have the coffee shop across the street from the concrete? I was over there just pounding turmeric tea after the battle, and I ended up with the flu for a month. And I'm pretty sure I gave it to everybody in Team International. I don't know if they got it as bad as I did, but Vega ended up really sick. Chilla ended up sick.
Damn.
Like, yeah, I was on stage, and I was able to kind of compose myself for about as long as I was on stage, and like I fell apart afterwards. I was really, really sick. So everyone's like, why do you have that jacket on? It's hot in here. I'm like, I'm freezing. Like I'm cold like right now. That's why I got the scarf bundled up, and just like, yeah, it was rough. It was not. I was not healthy.
It doesn't really show though. So like, fair enough for wearing it, because
you fake it till you make it. It's like you only get one chance at footage. So I tried to kind of like, but yeah, it ended up being really rough. And then we missed our flight home. So, I was like, oh shit. So I was like, what do we do today? And then, so we ended up the next day. We had an extra day, so we went out and I crossed the crosswalk at Abbey Road, and so I had to do. You got to do that, I guess. If you're an American, you got to head over to Abbey Road.
Love the Beatles, man.
But yeah. So, but that was a great trip that I'll remember forever, man. It was just like my first experience to London, so I was happy to do it.
Yeah, and as I say, it doesn't show. I was there. You have a very dense, enigmatic style. A style that kind of pays to play on YouTube more than anything, because you can really, I think Ilmac said on Watch, like how layered you are and how it's fun to play catch up with a lot of what you're doing, and you're kind of punching in different directions and stuff. And you held the audience captive here because you did have that confidence. You would talk to people, you'd retreat from Shox. Like, it was pretty spellbinding in places.
Sure. Yeah, like that was the goal. I mean, I think that the biggest kind of like asset you could have as a battle rap is your comfort, or as a battle rapper is your comfort and your ability to make people go on a journey with you, and I think that like, the more confident you are on that stage, that's the biggest difference between a lot of people who can battle rap and people who really find success in battle rap, is their ability to kind of create these moments where the crowd is really interested in what you're doing and they want to follow. And man, that London crowd was something else. They're catching all my shit, like
we
the
know
tree or sidebars, and yeah, just like, so I can't say that I can't say that I've ever been in a crowd as savvy as the London crowd. It was really like, I was happy to be there, and so I'm hoping that translates over to Manchester too.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I loved it out there. It was very much like, I felt like, wait a second, these guys are like the people who need to be absorbing my shit because they're doing it, because even some crowds that are out here that are really exposed to me don't always catch what the fuck I'm saying,
We're all ears, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. But you've got to be good to do it. And sometimes some people come over, and I've seen Lou Cypher in a Manchester crowd get kind of people talking over him and stuff. But here, I think it just worked. It was just weaponized in a really satisfying way. That's not to say the Shox didn't have some terrific stuff here, like he always does, really. And like your name literally being Brian the Man, and that sort of stuff. Like, just real. Shox has that just satisfying creativeness, the thing that you rue not coming up with and just marvel at in general.
Yeah, he has that dry humor that kind of like he just kind of like Shox versus Madflex. Who's that? Just kind of like, he has the whole kind of like approach where he has really good timing, and I have such an appreciation for battlers like Shox, because like at the end of the day, like, I feel like the X factor of battle rap is creativity, because, anybody can like be a puncher and just, copy and paste different ways to have puns and idioms and things like that. But like, if you can really create like a moment where there's like genuine, like you're making people like have a response to your material that's not just them waiting for you to have a pun or an idiom. To me, I feel like that's kind of where the real true like essence of a good battle rap performance is. And Shox is really good at that, which is why I was happy to battle him.
And you were next on, Ruin Your Day. We're doing a spate of these kind of one-offs in interesting locations, and just shot in a really crisp, clean way with the kind of, the boys who organise it at the back, all the sort of legends standing there and stuff. You versus Random Now, Random I had on the show a few times. Random I idolise on many different levels. Not only for his interesting paintings, and I think he writes poetry on the fly and stuff like that, but obviously he's a unique, gifted battler. And you two facing off at this time, mouth-watering.
Yeah. No, I loved it, man. I think that, like, Random he's one of those guys where his style is so refreshing. You know, he has like a style that basically kind of doesn't follow the standard kind of like choppiness that a lot of battle rappers have, even the more popular ones. And I think that he's going to be palatable to any crowd that he's in front of. I think he just kind of he's been in and out because I don't know if his love and appreciation for it or even people's love and appreciation for him is where it needs to be.
He's a Renaissance man, I think. Like, he just man of many skills.
Completely. Well, I mean, yeah, you look at his like top of the line paintings, and he's like, you could tell his artistry of anything he does. Yeah, very much a Renaissance man. I guess it's Renaissance over there.
Renaissance, whatever. It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. Sure,
yeah. Sure. No, but like, I know. Well, if we're talking about the Thames and the Thames, and I just got to make sure. So,
but yeah, this like, battle though, I mean, like, connecting with his style, like, he has quite an out of the box approach.
Yeah, and that was what made it so good. To tell you the truth, like, just the back and forth of that battle was very much like it was satisfying because I felt like we had two very, very different approaches. I felt like I was kind of very direct in my approach, where I was just kind of like in a battle, and I feel like he was kind of just like finessing me, and it was just like one of those things that kind of like the duality of both of us doing our shit ended up being really refreshing because it actually created a really good battle. Sometimes you see those kind of battles and it looks awkward, but it's like it was pretty seamless between us, which was like, you know, I mean, it ended up being like two different approaches that ended up being really, really satisfying to watch, and it created a lot of talk. So it's like, yeah, man, I definitely feel like he's at the top of the game of what he's doing as far as like being a wordsmith and being coming up with clever, unique, smooth cadences. So like, yeah, I feel like that was one of my favorite battles of that year, man. It was really good.
Kid Twist there as well.
Yeah. I met Kid Twist a couple times. Like, I met him at World Dom. I think he's just doing a lot of stuff in LA now that he's kind of like into the screenwriting stuff, and he's kind of doing his artistry. And so, yeah, man, like, he's another good dude. Like, you know, all of these guys we all end up running in the same circles. It's a small circle out here. So, you know, even a lot of the Canadians will find their way into LA. And so whenever I'm down there, that battle happened in Avocado's house. So, yeah, like, you would be really surprised just looking at the Ruin Your Day studios. They make a really, you know, compact space look really big.
Yeah.
And, Avocado, just the king of force perspective.
So, I mean, like, one of the interesting things looking at your career is that you haven't really taken any substantial break for a long time. Like, you battle seemingly every 4 to 6 months for the last, like, 3 years?
Yeah, about, and sometimes more. I feel like in the last 2 years specifically, there's been some part of me that just has been very, very encouraged, I think, because since the Random battle, that was my first battle of 2018. And since then, I've basically been very consistent in the battles that I've done and the battles that, like, if you look at every battle I've done over the past 2 years, it's been solid performances where, you know, you could make arguments that I'm winning them all. And you know, and even the ones I'm not are very, very, you would say that I wouldn't, are very competitive. And, you know, I was in the top 20 in the top 25, I guess, for the champion talk, being nobody, you know, having no real opportunities to be on bigger stage. And it was still like in the talks. And so when this year started, I'm like, I'm going to keep this going until like somebody notices and I get bigger opportunities. And so this year I started off with Human, which was like a criminally underrated or under even viewed battle. Mm-hmm. And I think me and Human is one of my favorite back and forths right now. And so I would definitely encourage people to see that one. And then followed by EK, everybody knows, and then followed by A-Ward, followed by Incredible. And so, like, this will be my 5th one of the year. And so it's just been my goal to like, okay, like, are we going to continue to just watch me do this for 2 years straight and not, you know, get bigger and bigger opportunities? Yep. And luckily I'm in this point now where I am getting those opportunities. And, you know, like, this soul battle came out of nowhere for me because people like see what I'm doing out here, and a lot of the people that actually ended up, because they asked, they're like, who do you want to come out and see Soul now that Mike P can't do it? And there was an overwhelming response that like they wanted me to come out, and it felt really good to know that like that hard work was for something, you know.
And, you know, we build forward then from the Sam Colt battle was the battle where you took the chain, right? The Bots Championship.
Right, the belt, yeah.
Yeah. Which we mentioned before has the annoying crowd. Like, I wish the battle was in a quiet room. Like, again, you have the patience of a saint, but it's like, it's not exactly like their fault because you chose to have the battle in a bar, but it's just a bit, you know, just a bit annoying.
Well,
basically.
The venue was actually a replacement venue.
Right.
It was because the venue canceled like 3 days before the battle. And so they just needed to find whatever. So we ended up in like this wine bar that had like 100-foot high ceilings. And it was just the echo raised everything. And plus there was people right across the way from us having a birthday party. And the room was like a ballroom. It was not like a small room. It was like, you know, the sound's just going everywhere, echoing off the walls into the ceiling. And like, so it was a replacement. But like, I'm super proud of that battle because literally I was being pulled every which way between like the crowd, I'm like, let's just roll with these punches and get this job done. And I feel like from start to finish, I was professional. Dan started talking through my shit. I pulled him up to the front. Like, nobody is going to stop me from being the champion right now. Like, so I felt like very much I'm proud of that battle because I basically took all of the you know, the potential
I'm the battler,
problems
you're
that
the
could
host,
happen.
you say.
Yeah.
Love
and
that.
and I made, and it's funny because like, you know, Dan is endearing in that way.
Oh, yeah.
And then in other ways you're kind of like, that's too much. And I think, you know, if I'm going to be the champion of Dan's league, then I have to accept it on some terms and just kind of roll with that punch.
Right.
And that's fine, man. Because like, if that's him, that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. But for me, that's my choice. Like, I'm like, okay, if you're the king, if you're the guy that runs this league and I'm the champ, then I'm going to deal with it. But you also have to understand that I'm going to pull you in the front if you're not shutting up during my rounds. Like, so, you know, you have to control the environment if you're going to be, you know, I mean, that's part of my job in bots is to control the environment and not let it control me because it's the lion's den at the end of the day. If people are going to be talking, it's a huge challenge for me. And it's almost like battle rap, you know, calisthenics where it's like, all right, I'm going to take all of the things, the environment in this room, and I need to make it work for me. And there's a lot of things that are going to threaten me and a lot of things that are going to get in my way. And I still have to power through that. And so like, I don't know a lot of people that have to deal with that shit. And I do. And I think it makes me a better battler for it. So,
and you know, you are champion, of course, of bots, but the battle I want to focus on next is the A-Ward clash.
I know. Where y'all get your scissors at? Right now, I know. Right now, you thinking, son, that's whack. You right. But I'm still gonna run that back. I got a little bit of everything. Like, what the fuck, Ward? You know what's in the junk drawer? I don't know. Fucking junk, Ward. First time in my life, I'm thinking, baby, I trust Ward. Shit, God knows you never find a good pen in the junk drawer. Look at his face.
Which just happened recently at Town Business.
So good, yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is a really fun battle. And one of the things I liked was King of the Dot was harking back in so many ways in this event, trying to get to the old glories. One of the things they do is the pre-battle interview. And, you know, you call A-Ward the great hope for King of the Dart, and, you know, and you have some back and forth there, but it's quite, you know, it's quite cordial for the most part. Like, A-Ward had sort of came out of nowhere, right, in the last few years. Like, this guy's rise has been stratospheric.
Oh, so good. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, how could it not be? Like his energy and his, like the approach that he takes is so just like contagious to crowds and people. It's like, you know, he has a way, like, I don't know, man. He just has something special about the way that he projects and the way that he create. I mean, it's like, you could say that in some ways, the big difference between, you know, like both of us are that he might be a little bit more formulaic in the way that he delivers his punches. Like he has these cadences that are kind of like, but God, man, he has it mastered. Like he has like what people want from battle rap, like the things that people expect, he has it mastered. And that was a huge challenge for me because for me, I'm outside of the box, and to be an outside of the box dude to go against a dude that has the formula mastered is like, it's an uphill battle, man. It's like, it's super challenging because like you have to just be at peace with the fact that he's going to shake that room. Like, you know, it's just the way it's going to go. And so my style against his ended up being challenging because I'm like, how do I even make this competitive with a guy who's consistently going to shake the room, saying shit that people are kind of like, you know, I know that he's going to have like an associative wordplay scheme. I know that he's going to land these punches in a way that just this crowd is going to soak up. And how do I stop it? And I think it just came down to the point, I'm like, I can't stop it. So do me, you know, just, and another one of those kind of type of battles where like our styles were so different and yet it ties together and makes something really special, man. Like I was big on that battle. That battle actually, you know, went really well. So did I lose you? I can't hear you right now. I don't know if a mute button got pushed or something.
Oh, hey, man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Sorry, bro. So, I mean, there's so much to love about this battle from both sides. Like, I like how you adapt to his rebuttal tendencies, and you talk about trying to think of a flip for his shirt, and he jerseyed himself when he put the jersey on. And the way you say, welcome to the battle of the night, like the conviction, I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that, like, at this point, we've been doing this a long time, like guys like me and A-Ward. And I was like, when I saw the card, there's a lot of names that were bigger than us, you know, like when you think about all of these people who were going to end up being on this card, and just looking at the card, I was like, I don't think these guys can do what me and A-Ward can do. And I, you know, there's a lot of really good people on the card, but like just from jump, it's like, okay, this is where we stand. You know, it's like popularity, all that stuff out the window. Me and A-Ward are two of the most the best performers, most intricate, like most convicted. Like we're going to go out there and try to take each other's head off. And it's like, we're not just kind of like coming up with like random punches that are kind of just like, you know, okay, a name flip here and there. Like it's a story, you know? And I felt like that from jump was going to be like how it was going to be for me and A-Ward. And so automatically I'm like, no, I'm going to set this precedent that welcome to the battle of the night in the beginning. And I'm not going to give myself a way out of that by saying, welcome, it was the battle of the night after the event happened. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to fucking deliver, you know? And I think that that's kind of like, the goal is to not only just like look at your battles in hindsight and say, oh, we were the best battle that night. It's like, no, hello crowd, we're here, you know, like, and this is about to happen. And because when you meet that standard and you set that bar and then you manage to do it, it ends up being powerful. And that was the goal, because I wanted to make a statement. It's like, you know, let's do this. I'm going to battle one of my good friends. We're going to like go out and take each other's head off. And then let's see what happens for both of us after this. And it's time to come take some spots, because if you guys can't hang with this type of performance, then you don't belong here.
I mean, just so much good shit in your first, the Snow on the Bluff stuff, you know, Steal the Show on Cam from the opening cut, which, Snow on the Bluff, one of the most referenced movies in battle rap.
You know, it felt just so appropriate because of the Real Deal, like, because I was supposed to battle Real Deal at that event. And then it ended up not happening because I think we ended up like, you know, like somebody didn't get back to Real Deal quick enough, because when we had it booked, and then he ended up on the same day, you know, waiting to tell Lex about the Dago Diavolo battle. And then, so, you know, there just came a point where I think Real Deal was kind of like, I can't wait anymore. And so, and then that's when the A-Ward battle came up. So, and I'm glad it did, man, because it ended up being a war. So,
you know, the unload reload, but you skip the part where you shoot the shit, and breaking down his body movements as well. I mean, I think A-Ward, I've got to be honest with you, Flex, like, I think he's been a little bit hated on in the comments and the reactions. I think he's good in this battle.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's great. Well, I think a lot
his
of people give him credit too. Like,
is really tight basically about your age. Like, that whole round. Oh, he's pretty funny.
It felt like, I think in a lot of ways, like, the general consensus is, and that's the thing, there's not really a general consensus. There's so many different takes on this battle that I've seen. And but in a lot of ways, I think it benefits both of us. And that's what's important, because I think that's what I would hope for at the end of it, is that it is a battle that people talk about, over and over again, because that creates replay value, and that creates views, and it creates a narrative. And but no, he did great. Like he's as consistent as they come, and I know he did what he came to do, and I did what I came to do, and I think for the most part, I definitely feel like people are noticing now. Like, I mean, and that's what's important, and is because, like, he's gonna always be sharp, and he was sharp this time around too, and I felt like people needed to see, because A-Ward, like, in a lot of ways, he's kind of just stormed his way through everybody.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like I'm one of the only people in the world that he had a debatable battle with. I'm only, like, one of the only people in the world that, like, stepped to him and said, all right, let's go toe to toe, and met that conviction head on and made it look good. And a good handful of people have me winning. A good handful of people have him winning. And, in all honesty, it's a good look for both of us. I'm glad.
Obituary didn't say he loved the bait, said he was found in it.
That was a good line. Yeah.
The flex position line, remember that one as well?
I remember it when I said it against Psychosis 5 years ago. Yeah. I said against Psychosis, I said, because it's your fantasy to be in flex position.
Nice.
Yeah. So
nice.
So I was a little less, I was less enthusiastic than other people, and that's why I was like, I said that 5 years ago. But, like, you can't be mad. Like, whatever. It's like it's a good line, and if you didn't know that, then he came up with it. It's like, how many times have people come up with lines that have been said? Whatever. Oh my God. But yeah, that was why I was kind of like, man, you can't get credit over something I said 5 years ago. That's messed up.
It's kind of mind-boggling how many original lines there still are, because there's been so many fucking battles in English, and it's like,
oh God, right? How can you even possibly say something that hasn't been said?
Yeah.
They're gonna pull up some some random battle that, like, nobody's
happened
watched.
to Av.
Like, oh, he said that, like, right?
Although, I mean, he was kind of guilty, to be fair, but still, it's happened to a lot of people unfairly. Hyphy feel A-Ward.
Some dude in 2012 said, "I've always want to give a gnome 5."
Right?
No.
So in A-Ward's round as well, he says, like, hyphy feel, and Sora starts, like, heckling him really bad and, like, saying he's terrible. What is that about? Is that an Oakland slang term?
It is. So basically, like, there's a culture out in Oakland where basically, like, it was what was called the hyphy movement, where there's, like, HYPHY, and so, like, it's this movement of just, like, going dumb, like, kind of just weird, kind of reckless dancing sideshow, like car sideshows, spinning spinning donuts in the middle of intersections, giving no fucks, and that's kind of like, that's the area that I live in, and I think that because of that, and because of the popularity of the movement, he basically kind of created, like, the dual meaning of hyphy and hyphy.
Hyphy, yeah.
And I think it's been, like, the hyphy bars have kind of, been done up, and I think that's why Thesaurus was skeptical. But I think, but yeah, he came, like, that to finish the round with. It was sharp, man. Like, I liked it. I thought it was a good bar.
Yeah. Sorry saying it, but I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
and throughout the battle, you call him Kimsey a lot. I mean, we know that that's his name, but, like, I've never heard someone address A-Ward so adamantly as Kinsey.
Well, it was kind of like, it was meant to be like this kind of, because, it's like he's A-Ward, which is, like, I guess Aaron Ward, and is what he has his name on Facebook. And I'm like, Kimsey is such a unique name, and it's got kind of like, like, it's one of those things that I just felt like I just need to, like, beat it into the crowd that you're Kimsey, you're not A-Ward, you're Kimsey, and I think that kind of, like, that was a strategy that I had, because nobody had really done that. Nobody, it's his name is Kimsey, and nobody had kind of, said that. And it was just a little way of kind of making it kind of a big brothering, like, I thought it went well.
Yeah, no, tons of really impressive stuff in this round. I'll make a corpse of Ward, because you're leaving a lot to be desired. This is a storage wars.
Yeah, a lot to be desired. Yeah. And then, like, that followed up with one of my favorite punches I ever wrote with the you could see his sticky fingers shoot right through the roof, like the Source Awards.
Right.
And Yeah, it's like a reference to Sticky Fingers from Onyx, like just coming out to the Sorcerer Roads and shooting the place up. Like he just shot a couple bullets through the ceiling.
Oh shit, I didn't realize.
Yeah. So, which is why you can hear Thesaurus, like, after I spit that bar, like you could see his Sticky Fingers shoot. Thesaurus just like, let's go. And like, cause it's one of those references that either you get it or you don't.
Niche,
and I think, well, it's very popular. It's common in hip hop cultures out here in America.
Sure.
But like, I would imagine I'm surprised you guys know about Snow of the Bluff out there.
I sort of discovered that by chance, really. I think it's pretty obscure over here, like, and then kind of through battle rap as well. It's kind of reinforced my knowledge of it. But you clown a lot in this round on. I kind of disagree with you slightly. I don't think A-Ward's junk draw punch is that bad.
Well, of course it's not that bad. Like, of course it's not. But like, it was one of those things that, like, in the same way that he came at me about the Iman Shumpert shit, I have never ever. He even told me, he's like, I was looking around for like another instance of you doing that, and I'm like, it's because I don't do that. Like, and not to mention, Human does look like Iman Shumpert, and I said, I'm beyond Chuck work. His name is Chuck. This is all very relevant shit that I said to him. And so he found this way to pick apart a bar that was actually very well thought out. And I mean, if you look at Human, he looks just like Iman Shumpert. So it's one of those things that, like, a well-crafted bar that he just made seem very trivial and funny. But like, in the same way that for me, it's like, yeah, you said that you've got a little bit of everything, like the junk drawer. And at the end of the day, like, what are you saying about yourself? You're saying that you belong, your shit is all from a junk drawer. So I was just like, okay, that's some ammo for me. In the same way, for me to say Dijon Mustard, Iman Shumpert's ammo for him, and you make a bigger deal out of something than what it really is. And that's how people find success, you know?
And the climax is never find a good pen in the junk drawer. And I don't know if it's something you'd be aware of necessarily, but certainly in England, Michael McIntyre, he's a bit of a bland comedian, but he's a very big comedian over here. And he has a bit about, I guess, the junk drawer. He calls it the man drawer, but it's the same kind of idea, the bric-a-brac sort of idea. So, it always sort of reminded me of that, but I like the way you play it. Is it a small choke that goes down there? What was that little pickup sequence?
Yeah, I got backed up because I had, like with that, what's funny is, like, that whole thing, how many times am I saying junk drawer? I'm like, in the junk drawer, what the fuck, Ward? You find it in the junk drawer, I'm saying junk drawer 15 times in a row. And so in a lot of ways, when I'm doubling back because I got stopped, I'm trying to figure out which one of those 15 junk drawer lines I'm on, because I'm not saying unique words. I'm saying the word junk drawer 5 times straight. So I'm trying to double back and I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm like, okay, let me get my spot back here. And I had to figure it out for a second, and to A-Ward's credit, he made it seem much bigger than it was, and he made me pay for it by bringing it up twice. And I don't, and a lot of people still don't buy that it was like the choke that he made it seem like, but it's to his credit that he made me pay for it, man. So I'm not mad at him. I think that, like, I took about 5 seconds to get back into. I ran it back, and then I was like, wait a second, okay, did I whatever? And so that's how it goes. I'm not mad at that.
Harlem Hospital's giving beds out. He mentions in the second there, kind of compounded the choke idea, and he does sort of talk about the use of food. Schwarzenegger, tater tots, Gordon Hayward, and all that sort of idea. Probably the biggest line of the battle is in your third. Jesus walked on water and A-Ward's hopping on other people's waves.
Right.
Damn.
Right. Yeah, that was. I was happy when, like, every once in a while you write a line and you're like, that's the line of the round. And I was like, when I wrote that, I was like, that's the line of the round. So, like, it ended up being cool, and I went into it in a way that was like, it kind of built it up. And so it was this nice moment. It was probably one of the bigger moments of the battle for me, which is tight, except for, like, obviously the Heimlich line. But, like, but yeah, that was that was a good one for sure. That was probably one of the lines of the battle for me.
And when you got to the end of your third then, and A-Ward was beginning his, the final round of the battle, like, you must have felt quite satisfied with your performance, quite happy with how it played out.
Yeah. I mean, it ended, like, the third round, like, for me was, like, I don't know, man, like, I felt like in a lot of ways it was one of the best rounds I've ever written, you know, as far as like being an expose and being a powerful round and also having the punches, and it's just very diverse. Like, you know, like it was just something that it was a special round for me, and I felt like it was really kind of like, you can see on the stage too, like even people on A-Ward's side, like coming to my side, you know, like as I'm doing it, like Oops and Dre Vicious and all these people, like they're just kind of looking at me like trying to stone face, and then they're just like, by the end of it, they're like, okay, we gotta fuck with this guy, you know. So it was cool. But it ended up being like, yeah, I'm glad that round went over well. So.
And A-Ward's third, as I mentioned before, basically focuses on your age here, and has lots of... He's very sarcastic and smarmy in this, and he does call up your choking as well in the rebuttal at the start of the round, and he does a little bit of freestyle sections as well. It's quite a long closing round, and I was impressed. I thought it was a really good third.
He did good. I think in a lot of ways it's kind of like the length of his third and his inability to roll, or his inability to roll over and die, is to his testament. You know, like he basically, you know, I had a really, really strong third and he didn't roll over and die. And I think because of that, it makes him seem pretty strong, you know, and I think that like material wise, I don't think that like, you know, it was, you know, I think he's really good at sticking on things. Like, so for example, like with the Iman Shumpert shit, he was on that for a minute, you know, and with the age stuff, he was on that for a minute, and he just picks a scab and he just pulls at it and pulls at it and pulls at it. I don't think the age stuff went over really well in the room. It was kind of quiet through the age stuff in the room. And then, you know, he stepped on my shoes, which was upsetting. And then I stepped on his shoes, and then
he flipped
like
it.
Well, I don't think he flipped it. I think he had it on deck from his previous line, because it basically, he had the toe tags. Like it was all it's one of those things that I don't know. I'll give him credit. I think A-Ward is good enough that he could have done it. So, but like in general, it made for a good third. Like I feel like, you know, I mean, in any circumstance, it was one of those things where after the battle, I was like, bro, why'd you fucking step on my shoes? Like I don't want to sit here and have to like fucking fight you. Like it's just like, yeah. And you know, he's one of few people that I will have a conversation with about that shit, because I had the 4s on, bro. Like I had some good shoes on.
Right.
And they'd already been rained on. I was, you know,
it's town business, man. Like
I know, man.
Nothing can happen.
But it was good.
But Flex, we'll conclude with a few quickfire questions. That's good with you.
Sounds good.
What is your favorite Don't Flop battle, if you have one?
Soul versus Shox.
Good choice. I mean, yeah, I was there. Checkpoint 4, definitely one of the best UK battles ever.
Yeah, I feel like I was so happy to see Shox just kind of like rise to the occasion for that one. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty jaw-dropping in certain sequences. Like, they really fucking wrote for that clash.
Oh, yeah. Just the back and forth of it was nuts. Like, it was actually really just... Yeah, it's one of few battles that you're just like watching the whole thing. Like, wait a second, like I can't blink.
What about King of the Dot?
God, there's a lot. Probably, God, my favorite King of the Dot battle. Maybe. There's so many.
Yeah. Just top of the head. What comes to mind first?
The first one, Pass versus Ness Lee. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's the replacement battle.
Yeah, recent battle. Yeah, good choice.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's like, if I really thought about it, there might be other ones that like really struck me as being like, but that's definitely a top of the head pop off. So that's good.
URL.
Was B Magic versus Clean Paper on URL? I think it was one of the Proving Ground battles.
That was a Proving Ground battle.
I love that battle so much. Like Clean Paper's performance in that battle was like one of my favorite of all time. Like it was just such a good battle. But beyond that, I really enjoyed the volume between K-Shine and Danny Myers.
Yes.
That's such a good battle, man. Like, yeah, there's obviously a lot of heat coming out of URL. So, but that's one of the ones that pops off. Like K-Shine and Danny Myers, just a lot of like energy, just like, you know, relentless fucking just going back and forth. So,
And I mean, we mentioned him before, but yeah, you versus Ty Law. He's been on URL a few times. I want to kind of speak that battle into existence. I think that would be a fucking crazy
maybe.
clash.
As long as he's not booking too much around it, we can talk about it.
yeah. And in terms of battles as well, final battle related question, like any other leagues, any other battles, maybe battles you think are slept on, battle you've always really enjoyed?
Well, there's like a lot of, like there's leagues out here, beyond bots. You got Power and Respect. You got Shots Fired. You got like leagues out here that are really like kind of having good like battles, building up talent. But as far as the smaller league battles, Saint versus Next was really good. Like it's a Power and Respect battle. I know you've probably seen Saint. Like his battle with Gray Fox just came out. So him versus this dude Next was really good. It's spelled NXT, and that's one worth checking out. There's like there's plenty of battles that kind of like end up great, and there's all these up and comers, especially out here. You got like Dev the Demon and Drix and Next and Rub a Tongue, and there's people out here that are really good that can definitely like make big names for themselves, and I watch all those battles, so it's good.
Final two questions, non-battle rap related. What is your favorite film?
Probably of all time would be one of two. I'd have to say The Shawshank Redemption is probably my favorite of all time.
Amazing.
And just like in terms of like old classic shit, Back to the Future. Like Back to the Future
has
to be up there.
flex with the fucking old school picks. I love it.
Bro, like I have to. Well, because the thing is that like as far as like recent pictures and stuff, like I'd have to go with like Infinity War. Like I actually liked Infinity War better than Endgame.
Okay. Infinity War more than Endgame. Oh yeah, I mean,
I did. I don't know. I just loved the Thanos snap, because it was just kind of like
brutal.
It wasn't supposed to happen. Then he rewinds time, and it all happens, and you're just like, wait, this is fucking incredible. And just like the giant question marks at the end of it is tight. Obviously, you can't fuck with like the Endgame fight at the end is just nuts. Yeah. But like as far as the whole movie, I thought I liked Infinity War a little better.
And what about your favorite musical band or artist that are no way hip hop related?
I've always been a big fan. I actually have a lot of eclectic musical interests. My probably some of my favorite outside of the box references are, I'm a fan of Incubus. I've always been an Incubus fan. I'm a fan of just old styles like Sam Cooke's type shit. Rage Against the Machine.
Let's go, Zach De La Rocha, the GOAT.
Right.
Tom Morello.
Probably just like old kind of I'm trying to think of just like old more metal oriented bands, but like I like everything. I liked a lot of local bands out here that were crazy that have since come and gone. I've heard a lot of music in my life that nobody has ever heard, and it's like some of the most amazing soundtrack music of my life. Like there's one song, if you want to kind of get a vibe for the shit that I was fucking with back in the day, there's a band that like basically signed to Columbia. They were good friends of ours, and they were kind of overridden by Hoobastank, and they were called because they signed Hoobastank and pushed them instead of these guys. They were called Finger Tight, and so their name is Finger Tight, and they have a song called Guilt, and then in parentheses it says Hold Down, like just hold down and guilt, and like that whole style was kind of like. Like nobody knows that song, and like that's one of the most important songs in my life because we played, and it was like this big. At so many shows where we would all just like throw each other around to that shit, and like so basically a lot of stuff like that. There was a band called Unjust, and I still think that like is one of the best. If you check out a song called it's called
I'm
In
typing
Search
it
of
up
a
now.
Ghost.
Unjust in Search of a Ghost.
In Search of a Ghost by Unjust.
Yeah, I'm queuing that up. I'm queuing that up on YouTube straight away. Yeah, okay.
Right.
And everyone else should as well. But
so that's where I'm at with the music.
So we'll just finally go through some of the live stream comments. Again, this has been a really long episode, and they're always a sign of the best ones. And it's been great to talk to you, Flex. And I know there's loads of battles that we haven't necessarily gone through, but that's the nature of the beast. And sometimes we have to skip over.
It's been a pleasure, man. Yeah.
Certain things and
it's always good to talk to you, man. I think. other than your obsessive love for Soul, it's been a very pleasant experience. You know, like you got to give me a chance, Tom. Just give me a chance, man. Let me get out to the venue and let me stand in front of the guy. That's all I
really should be impartial, and I apologize for that.
You know, the journalistic integrity is just like everyone's worse than Soul.
Yeah. So we'll finally get to some of the live stream comments over the last 2 hours or so. Just answer these, quickly. Jamie says,
Sure.
Madflex, do you do jiu-jitsu? What belt are you?
I'm not a practicing belt jiu-jitsu. I practiced with dudes that worked out of Cesar Gracie, which is where Nick and Nate Diaz work out of. I was really deep into wrestling. I coached it and I did it collegiately.
Cool.
And so I was a wrestler and I was really deep into that. And then I kind of like on a secondary level was learning jiu-jitsu for a couple years through some purple belts at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
And George Mann asking, would you ever battle Frankie Fraser? That could be a good match.
Yeah, I would. He's one of the guys. I feel like he's criminally underrated in terms of like his. I feel like he's definitely one of the guys in the UK that like is one of the biggest noisemakers. I saw his match against Vega, obviously.
Yeah.
But even before that, obviously the Bender match, and not to mention just like one of the more stand-up dudes that I met out there, like when I went the last time. So yeah, I've got a ton of respect for Frankie, man. Like it'd be an honor to battle the guy eventually. Yeah, like we can all like figure things out. I'd be happy to kind of like get in the ring with Frankie.
Yeah, Ruin Your Day saying that would be a fine matchup, and I completely agree. George also asking, you and Psychosis versus Shuffle T and Marlowe be a fancy 2-on-2 match?
we would die.
Oh, that'd be great though. I'd really love, like, there's so many international pairs they could battle on like Ruin Your Day or something.
That would be fun. Yeah, like it'd be fun.
Multi-heaven.
Their ability to be like so connected is so threatening though, dude. Like they're a seamless machine. Like they'd be tough to beat. Like
no doubt about it. But I'd still like to see you like try. Like I think that'd be.
I'd try. I always try. I'm always trying. But like, I'd also probably just stand there and sheepishly take a beating and be okay with it.
Jampart asking, ask Madflex, is he still mates with Lou Sanus?
Am I still what?
Are you still friends with Lou Sanus? I don't know if you know who that is.
Lou Sanus. How is that spelled?
Oh no, we've been pranked here. Lou Sanus. Yeah.
Loose anus. Zing. Well played. Oh, they got one over on you. I'm like, how do you spell that? You're like, oh shit.
And I want to give a big shout out as always, because primarily he's been a huge influence of Battle Resume when I started the channel. Laugh and Stalk. He basically donated, so thank you so much for the donation of $4.20, saying I forgot one plane, you forgot life in prison. Is that one of your bars?
I've one plane. Oh no, that's Ilmac. That's Ilmac with like I forgot one plane and snap life in prison, where like where Ilmac against Soul, where like he's talking about how Soul like had that whole scheme about how I forgot one bar, you guys forgot 27, right. And then he goes back and he's like, he's all, imagine if he did that on a plane. He's like, I forgot one plane. He's like talking to the prosecutor, to the judge, like, I forgot one plane, you guys forgot, boom, life in prison. So like that was one of the more defining moments of the Soul Ilmac battle. So shouts to that bar.
And LNS, I mean, the fucking go out here. Like
one of the most stand-up guys you will ever meet in this shit. I just went to his wedding a couple weeks ago, and like, to tell you the truth, like Laughingstock is one of very few people in my life that like I would, in battle rap that I would invite into my home. He's actually a very good friend of mine, so I have tremendous respect for that guy. And
could that
he's the GOAT.
You on Ruin Your Day versus LNS in some sort of ludicrous location that Avo has devised, like you on some quarry or something.
Yeah, it would have to be some well contrived kind of like themed battle,
or like you get on surfboards.
I can't think of a bad thing to say about the guy.
Yeah, but like you get on surfboards.
Yeah, I know surfboards,
and you paddle out into the middle of the fucking Hawaiian reef, and he films you both just battling on surfboards. I'd love to see that.
Oh my god! The random battle was supposed to happen in an abandoned zoo. It originally was supposed to like be in like, and it just kind of didn't work out like that. We were just supposed to go to some like abandoned zoo, and then like I don't know why that didn't work out, but it's like that could have been pretty fire with like our rounds out in just some random like lion's cage or something.
And this gets more ridiculous every round, asking who's Madflex's favorite battler, and why is the answer clean paper?
Yep, that's it. Probably that's it.
Damn.
Like I still think my favorite line of all time, like of the shit that he spit against B Magic was like, and even if you let that 380 ride, trying to ask me questions like you trying to play me, guy, I'm the type to hit him with the late reply, like maybe why, you know, just like it's just this smooth way of being like, yeah, I'm talking shit about you. You can't do shit. So like that performance to me is one of my favorites. I'm a big clean paper fan. I know he hasn't been as consistent recently as he was in the past, but like, yeah, like when he's on, he's so on, man. And you know, other than that, it's just the squad. Like I'm a bit, you know, Fredo, Peanut, Reverse Live, like those are my guys. And so like, I think Reverse Live is one of the most criminally underrated dudes in battle rap.
He
and
was
I got to battle
crazy
him for the
versus
title.
Saurus. He was crazy.
Yeah. So I'll be battling him in January for the bots title.
Rematch.
Yes, take two. It's been 5 years.
Okay, yeah, no, he was supposed to come over and battle Hulk on King of the Rounds, and unfortunately that didn't fall through. That did fall through.
Yeah, that would have been good. Hulk's a good one, man.
I mean, Hulk,
like,
yeah. Hulk battled on the same card, right? Or was that the other card?
Yeah, I think
the other Chalktown card.
Hulk battled,
maybe.
I think, Chrome after.
On the Empire.
Like,
I think.
So that was the Empire one. Yeah.
Kind of Volume 3 kind of was a kind of crossover event anyway, but yeah, definitely Empire solidified that. So Madflex, I guess finally, like, you know, yourself, your Twitter, how do people get at you? Any music you have? Anything you want to promo?
No, I'm battling my ass off right now. All the music that I've done, I did a lot of music, and now I'm battling. Yeah. So basically, like, it's just you can catch up on Twitter at Madflex Hip Hop, Facebook at Madflex Hip Hop, Instagram at Madflex Hip Hop, and so just like I'm happy to kind of interact and kind of get more familiar with the Burts because I've got a lot of love. I'm impressed with their ability to process shit, and I've always enjoyed it out there, and I'm really excited to come out on the 7th. So, yeah, like feel free to keep up with me through those avenues.
Yeah, and again, guys, you know, Saturday the 7th of September, this is going down, Apex Reloaded, with Madflex vs. Soul on the card, amongst all the other battles that we've discussed earlier as well. This has been a great episode, man, and I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you again.
No, I'm glad for you having me out, man. I appreciate it too.